What's your caught in a NSFW situation at work? Not me, but a close friend. He worked as a vet tech, cleaning kennels, walking the dogs, changing bandages, etc. He was good friends with the boss lady, and she would bring her shepherd mix pups to stay in the kennels some weekends, especially if she was out of town or busy. One Sunday morning he ran up to take care of the animals, and the pups were there. They loved to play. So, after cleaning and caring for the other animals, he went into their run and was tossing the ball and rough housing with these two dogs. One dog jumped on him from behind and its paw slid into his front pocket, pulling down his pants. Right at this moment, with his pants around his ankles, one dog in front waiting and the other behind him, he realized that maybe today was not the day to go commando, especially as his boss walks in at that precise moment to see him, with her beloved puppers, hanging out in all his glory. He called me when he got home laughing and crying. His boss simply took the dogs and walked out without saying a word. Fortunately, it wasn't a rom-com movie, so he was able to explain the next day. Her only comment was, "Let's remember to wear underwear from now on, okay?" Not me, but a past coworker, we'll call him Bob Smith. He had logged into a shared computer in our lab one day, and he pulled up Outlook, and then turned around to do something with his phone while Outlook loaded. Well, let me tell you, our corporate mail filter failed that day. I walk in to see Bob turned away from the screen, and on the screen, in the Outlook preview pane, nearly full screen, was an email. Bob Smith, are you getting enough big black d-? And of course, this lovely email was accompanied by a picture showing exactly what they were talking about. Just in case you were unsure, I try to suppress a laugh, and just say to him, "Well, Bob, are you?" He looked at me, "Am I what? What are you talking about?" I point to the screen. He can't hit that delete button fast enough. The words, "Well, are you?" with no further context for anyone else overhearing, became a running joke between us. Only got caught peripherally in this one. One of my IT guys assigned to one of our regional offices kept getting help requests from one clerical, and most of the problems were questionable at best. She obviously just wanted to see him. One day he gets a call and goes up to her cubicle, and she's standing there with her pants off. He backed out of that, put her on his "do not respond" list until things could get straightened out, and then called me for help since nothing he had done was working. Since she wasn't my employee, I picked up the phone and called the regional director. The initial contact was something like, "Hi, regional first name basis. You know, I've always supported casual Fridays, but don't you think no pants Fridays are a little too much?" Walked into the bathroom to see two male co-workers looking at one of their crotches and saying, "Yeah, I'm taking you to the hospital right now." Turns out that the guy being examined was special needs and needed help knowing if he needed medical attention for a nasty skin rash. Turns out that it was just heat rash from wearing really hot clothing during the summer. I don't know if this counts, but I worked for a call center a couple years ago, and when we asked someone their name we had to say, "And who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today?" Well, for some reason why, I have no idea, I asked the lady on the phone, "And who do I have the pleasure of sleeping with today?" The girl who sits next to me looked at me wide-eyed, and then I realized what I said and apologized profusely. The lady on the phone just started cracking up and then told me her name was Mary Ann. I used to work in a call center for a major satellite TV provider. Other than the usual perv that would call to be gross, we had one dude who would call and just make us read off porno titles. "What do y'all have? Backdoor 9, Busty Blondes 2, etc." All the while he would just beat his meat to ladies reading the names of dirty movies. We used to get this too, until we set up the dirty line. The dirty line was specifically for those requests. They would be transferred to Dave. Dave was gruff and Scottish. They didn't stay on the line. A few weeks after I started at a new company, they hired a new and very pretty secretary near me. Every dude at the office was getting shot down by her, except some guy on the second floor. The guy was your typical jacked, tan, slick hair sorta guy that can win a woman over with a smile. He won her attention, and every day I'd overhear him flirting with her hard over at her desk. Anyway, fast forward another couple months to some random workday. I need to go to a supplies run and my boss needed some stuff too. So we take a walk over to the small supply closet. He unlocks the door and we walk in, to see the secretary and this tan guy going at it hard. There was a good few seconds of us all making direct eye contact. When my boss closes the door and walks away without saying a word, I wasn't sure what to do, so just sort of go back to my desk. An hour goes by and I still haven't seen my boss or the secretary, and I'm not sure any of my coworkers would believe it if I said anything. All of a sudden my desk phone rings. The lady on the line is with HR and wants me in her office now. I get in there and see the secretary crying in one seat in the entrance area beside my boss, who is pale as a ghost. In an office a few feet away, the tan dude is having a screaming match with the HR woman. When I walk in, a similar moment occurred to the storage closet and everyone froze and locked eyes. HR woman comes out of her office and has the tan dude go into her co-worker's office while she invites me in to talk. All of a sudden, when I'm in the office with the HR lady, she starts breaking down crying, I mean sobbing everywhere. Unsure what to say, or do I ask if she's okay? She apologizes and then tells me that the tan guy is her husband. I have no idea what to do, so just kept saying it'll be okay over and over. First thing that popped into my head. After a few minutes of her crying, she straightens herself out, has me confirm what my boss said happened, then told me I was good to go back to my desk. A bit later my boss comes to my desk and tells me we're going to lunch. The moment we're in his car, he lets out this huge sigh and blankly says, I had no idea they were married. Both the husband and secretary were fired and the boss and I chuckled about the incident forever. I believe the HR woman ended up getting remarried, and total gossip. So who can tell if it's true the secretary had given the tan guy herpes? What a ride. At my last job, there was this deaf guy who was non-verbal. The company brought in an ASL translator for every meeting, which was the only time you could really interact with him face to face. Honestly, a stand-up guy though. One day I'm in the washroom taking a dump, and I hear something strange in the stall next to me. The steady schlick 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 of someone jerking off. Then some grunting. So I finished up quick and left the washroom. It was just me and the masturbator in there. I checked his shoes, then stood outside and pretended to be on the phone. Turns out it was the deaf guy. I just smiled and waved when I saw him. From then on, I noticed that he went to the washroom for a suspiciously long time every day. I guess nobody told him that masturbating makes noise. If you have worked in an office long enough, you learn everyone's shoes through osmosis. That's why it always bewilders me when someone cranks it in a stall when their feet are visible. Hey, Craig, your specifically worn desert boots don't lie. My old married wife and kids' boss had a ton of nudes on the work computer of mostly other women and occasionally himself. They were labeled mundane things like Maloney job site. Somehow he synced his personal email to the work one, and I discovered he was picking up men on Craigslist. Email subject lines like "suck my daddy" are hard to ignore. He was such a miserable, nasty, explosively angry person and went viral for a funny house selling video. Not quite caught, and not quite NSFW, but at work, comfy on the bowl, pooping and reading, I finish up, reach for the toilet paper, and my back completely goes out on me. It felt like somebody kicked me in the spine and I couldn't move. It took me an hour to be able to move enough to wipe and get my pants up. Another hour to hobble into my boss's office to tell her where I had been, that I was in agony, and that I needed to go to the doctor. I ended up getting prescribed a month of physical therapy and therapeutic massages to get over that tragic wiping incident. Back in the early 2000s there was a NSFW prank floating around the internet. If you clicked it, a looping video of two guys going at it popped up on your screen and the PC speaker squawked, "Hey everybody, I'm watching gay p." That wasn't the worst of it. If you tried to close the browser, it spawned two more and kept spawning more if you closed those. I worked in IT and thought it was a hilarious prank, so I sent it to my supervisor in an email titled, "Important System Update." We always played practical jokes on each other and this would have just been par for the course. Only problem is he thought it was legit and sent it to the whole floor. My horror when only a few moments later I hear it playing on one PC, then another. Almost everyone in the office had clicked the link. People panicked, turned off their systems, losing all their work. It was a huge show. Believe it or not, I never got fired and actually got promoted a year later. Telling my friend's story with her permission, of course. My friend had a big interview this day. She studied nutrition in college, and was interviewing with a hospital in Boston to work on their dietetics team. She went to the interview, and met with the hospital worker, sat down and chatted for a bit. It was going well, so the interviewer asked if she wanted a tour of the area of the hospital she would be working in. She agreed, and the hospital was beautiful, but the interviewer seemed a bit awkward during the tour. She figured this was their way of politely ending the interview when they weren't interested, and tried to brush the awkwardness off and compensate by being more energetic, which only seemed to make the interviewer even more awkward. Finally, at the end of the tour when she was leaving, the interviewer admitted that she had a lovely sweater, but there was a lacy, black thong stuck to her back from static. She had been parading around the hospital trying to talk herself up, all the while walking around with a thong displayed for all to see. Needless to say, she didn't end up working there, and to this day jokes about how if she's ever dying and we need to send her to a hospital, how she'd rather die than be admitted there.